Alright, this is our lesson 3-1 graphing linear functions notes. This is part 1. This is day 1 of this. Your goal is to be able to graph functions by using tables, and we're going to also take a look at graphing two other types of functions. Given a table, the standard is if you're given a table, an equation, or some description of a linear function, you're going to graph that function and to determine its intercepts and its key features. Determine and interpret its key features. We're going to start off by making a table to graph. We're going to pick appropriate domain values. What we mean by this is that there are some x's that are easier to choose than others. We want to graph y equals 1/4 x plus 3 by making a table. I don't want to choose just any x values. I want to choose x values that make my life easier. The tip we have is that if you're going to select an x value, selecting a value of x that is a multiple of the denominator can make the graphing of the function easier. What I mean by that is that our denominator here is 4. We'll pick values of x that are multiples of 4 to graph. So we'll do -8, -4, 0, 4, and 8. -8, -4, 0, 4, and 8 are all multiples of 4. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times -1, 4 times -2, 4 times 0. They're easier numbers to then use. Because then you'll go and plug those values in. 1/4 of -8 plus 3. You'll do 1/4 of -4 plus 3. You'll do 1/4 of 0 plus 3, 1/4 of 4 plus 3, and 1/4 of 8 plus 3. You want to evaluate what this is. You're going to have to do that in your calculator. A fourth, or a quarter, of -8 plus 3 ends up just being 1. So the y value is 1. And if we keep a value, we're going to get 2, 3, 4, and 5. We chose some x values, we plugged them in, we found the y values, the results, and now we just get to graph them. -8, 1, -4, 2, 0, 3, 4, 1, 4, and 8, 5. We can graph those 5 points. -8, 1, -4, 2, 0, 3, 4, 4, 8, 5. And we can connect them up with a straight line. We have a view of what our graph should look like, passing through those points. Think about what values of x you might choose in order to graph this, 1/7 x minus 12. I'm going to give you the answer to it in 3, 2, 1. Values of x you might choose are, you might choose -14, -7, 0, 7, or 14 as values of x to help graph. This is not saying you can't plug in 3 or 4 or 5, but choosing these numbers will be easier to plug in because you'll be finding 1/7 of each of those numbers, and you'll have whole numbers as a result. When you're making a table, choose some x's, plug them in, find the y's, graph the result. Now we got two more sort of graphs to take a look at. We want to graph equations that look like y equals a. We're going to start by turning this into a table. Well, first off, I don't see any x's, so we're going to rewrite this. I'm going to make sure I've got some x's that I see, but currently I don't see any x's. So what do I have? I've got 0 x's, and then I've got 5 as well. Y equals 5 is the same as y equals 0x plus 5. Now we can choose some x values. Well, the denominator of 0 is 1, so I can choose any numbers here. We can choose -2, we could choose -1, we could choose 0, we could choose 2, we could choose 4. You can choose any numbers here, just as long as you then plug them in. 0 times -2 plus 5. 0 times -1 plus 5. 0 times 0 plus 5. 0 times 2 plus 5. And 0 times 4 plus 5. Well, everything times 0 is still 0, so just adding 5 means all the y's are 5. This line here, this line of 5s is something we could have put at the very beginning. If we're told y equals 5, I could replace all the y's with 5. Was there a rule for x? No. Generally, you get to choose whatever x's you want. So we're looking like we got -2 and 5, -1 and 5. We got 0, 5, we got 2, 5 as a coordinate, and we've got 4, 5 as a coordinate. And we could again graph those. -2 and 5, -1 and 5, 0, 5, 2, 5, 4, 5. We've got, if I draw this well, a flat line. Our domain is just heading left and right forever. It's all real numbers. We can choose any values of x here. We also see on our graph that we've got any value of x. All real numbers. Our range is how high or low we go. Well, we don't go up at all from this on this line. We don't go down at all on this line. We're just flat. We're a set value. Our range is just 5. We're going to write it this way. You're going to write it in some curly brackets. And we're going to write a y followed by a bar, then y equals 5. We call this set notation. The way to read this is read it as y such that, this bar, vertical bar means such that, then there's, after this word such that, is just whatever rule we have for y. In this case, y equals 5. All y's such that y equals 5 is our range. That's one way of writing this. We call this set notation. You're going to have to be able to read it. Y such that y equals 5 is what we're calling that. In general, what do you think the graph of y equals any number a looks like? Well, if y could be just any number, but it's just y equals that number, it's a horizontal line. The graph of y equals a is a flat line, flat horizontal line. At a height of a. You'd have to go up to some number or down to some number and just draw a flat line. Last thing here, we just saw that y equals a was a flat line. You probably have a sense of what x equals negative 2 is going to look like. Since y equals a is horizontal, x equals a is a vertical line. We'll go and draw a vertical line at x equals negative 2. We'll draw a line straight up and straight down where x equals negative 2. Start at 0, go to negative 2 for your x, just draw a line straight up, straight down. Our domain is the values of x. In this case, it's just x's such that x equals negative 2. Our range is the y values. Well, we go all the way down to negative infinity. We go all the way up as well. We have every y value. So our range is all real numbers. Is this graph a function? Well, let's think. It's a straight line, straight up, straight down. So, no. It is not a function. X equals a is not a function. It fails the vertical line test. We could say that one x value x equals negative 2 has multiple y values. That was our notes for today. There is a practice skill that you can work on that is 2ZW and BTK. Those are 2 IXL skills if you want to practice making tables and graphing them, or graphing horizontal and vertical lines. Your graded assignment is on IXL. Under the quizzes tab, you're going to complete the Algebra 3-1 graphing using tables quiz. It is 8 questions. It is 8 questions from these 2 IXL skills. You should maybe practice the IXL skills first, but this is the graded assignment.